We have some breaking news out of Asia right now. Malaysia Airlines reports that one of its flights has lost contact with air traffic control.
239 people on board has gone missing. Whether the disappearance is due to mechanical problems, pilot error, or even terrorism is yet to be determined.
Imagine waiting at the airport to welcome your loved ones home, only to find out that their plane has disappeared without a trace. That's the nightmare that the families and friends of the passengers on flight MH370 faced on March the 8th, 2014. Almost 10 years ago, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 just vanished. The Boeing 777 had departed from Kuala Lumpur International Airport bound for Beijing, China, with 239 passengers and crew members on board, but it never arrived at its destination. The world was left stunned and confused by the sudden disappearance of the aircraft. How could a modern airliner equipped with the latest technology simply vanish? The search for the missing aircraft became one of the most extensive and expensive in aviation history. But despite years of searching, no wreckage or clues to its whereabouts were ever found. Was it a mechanical failure, a hijacking, a pilot suicide mission, or something else entirely? For the families and loved ones of those on board, the pain and grief of not knowing what happened to their loved ones is immeasurable.
Malaysia Airlines 370 is fled to Beijing via P-Boss Alpha departure 6000 feet squawk 2157.
Beijing P-Boss Alpha 6000 squawk 2157, Malaysia 370, thank you.
Malaysia 370, welcome over the ground.
At 12:42 AM on March the 8th, 2014, flight MH370 took off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport. The plane was scheduled to arrive in Beijing, China at 6:30 AM. In the cockpit are Captain Zaharieh Ahmed Shah and First Officer Fariq Abdul Hamid. The plane reached a cruising altitude at 1:01 AM. But then something strange happened. At 1:19 AM, the last communication from the plane was heard. Responding to traffic control, the pilot says, 2 minutes later, the plane's transponder, which communicated with air traffic control, was switched off, just as the plane was about to enter Vietnamese airspace over the South China Sea. At this point, the Malaysian military radar continues to track the aircraft, which almost immediately begins to turn to the left until it is travelling in a southwesterly direction. 01:52 Flight 370 reaches the southern end of the Penang Island. First Officer Fariq Abdul Hamid's cell phone was registered with a cell tower below, though no other data was transmitted. Flight 370 then turned northwest along the Strait of Malacca. The satellite communication link is lost around this time. At 2:22 AM, Malaysian military radar lost contact with the plane over the Andaman Sea. 3 minutes later, the plane reconnects to the satellite communications network after being disconnected for between 22 and 68 minutes. Moments later, Flight 370 took another bizarre turn, this time south, and it is believed that it continued on this path for almost 6 hours, until it presumably crashed at around 8:19 due to fuel exhaustion. This is supported by the fact that there was a log-on request sent by the flight to the satellite, and investigators believe this happened after a power failure. Also at this point, the plane had been flying for 7 hours and 38 minutes and was reportedly carrying 49,100 kilograms of fuel, which is only enough for about 7 hours and 41 minutes. The disappearance of flight MH370 triggered a massive search and rescue operation, involving dozens of countries and costing over $150 million. Over 4,500,000 kilometers squared of ocean surface was searched. Initial searches for the plane concentrated on the South China Sea. After it was determined that Flight 370 had turned to the west shortly after the transponder was switched off, search efforts moved to the Strait of Malacca and the Andaman Sea. On March the 24th, Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak announced that, based on analysis of the final signals, they had concluded that the flight crashed in a remote part of the Indian Ocean, 2,500 kilometers southwest of Australia. The search for the debris from the crashed Boeing 777 was made difficult by the remote location of the crash site. However, on April the 6th, an Australian ship picked up some acoustic signals that were believed to be from the plane's black box, about 2,000 kilometers northwest of Perth, Western Australia. The last of these signals was heard on April the 8th. Subsequent searches using a robotic submarine did not yield any results. It was discovered that a faulty cable in the acoustic equipment could have been responsible for the signals. On July the 29th, 2015, the first piece of debris was found. The right wing flaperon was discovered on a beach on the French island of Réunion. The discovery of the debris was a significant breakthrough in the investigation. It confirmed that the aeroplane had crashed into the ocean, but it did not answer the question of why it had happened. Over the next year and a half, 26 more pieces of debris were found on the shores of Tanzania, Mozambique, South Africa, Madagascar, and Mauritius. 3 of the 27 pieces were positively identified as coming from flight MH370, and 17 were thought to have likely come from the plane. The debris locations were used to narrow the search area in the Indian Ocean, since some possible crash sites would have been unlikely to produce debris that would have drifted to Africa. Officials claim that the search for flight MH370 was one of the most challenging operations they have ever conducted. The Indian Ocean is vast and the conditions are harsh, making it a difficult environment to search. Despite the challenges, the search continued for years. In January 2017, the governments of Malaysia, Australia, and China called off the search, but an American company, Ocean Infinity, received permission from the Malaysian government to continue searching until May 2017. As the search for flight MH370 continued, theories about what might have happened to the plane began to emerge. One theory about the disappearance of the flight is that the plane experienced mechanical failure. This theory suggests that a malfunction with the plane system caused it to crash into the ocean. While planes are designed to be incredibly safe, they are also incredibly complex machines. With so many systems and components, there are many ways in which something could go wrong. While the theory of mechanical failure may explain what happened to MH370, it still leaves many questions unanswered. For example, why did the plane deviate from its flight path, and why was it unable to communicate with air traffic control? Another theory that has been suggested regarding the disappearance of the flight is the possibility of hijacking. The theory suggests that someone on board the plane took control of the aircraft and caused it to vanish without a trace. The fact that the communication systems on the plane were turned off shortly after takeoff suggests that the hijacking was a deliberate act. The theory is supported by radar data that shows the plane changing course and making several turns, indicating that it was being flown by someone with aviation expertise. However, despite an extensive investigation, no group or individual has claimed responsibility for the hijacking. This has led some experts to question whether a hijacking actually occurred. One of the most controversial theories surrounding the disappearance is the possibility of pilot suicide. This theory suggests that one of the pilots intentionally crashed the plane, taking the lives of all 239 people on board. Investigators initially focused on the pilot, Captain Zaharieh Ahmad Shah, as a potential suspect. It was discovered that he had a flight simulator in his home that included a route similar to the one taken by MH370. Additionally, he had been described as depressed by those who knew him. However, no concrete evidence has been found to support this theory. The investigation has not uncovered any indication of motive or any definitive proof of wrongdoing on the part of either pilot. So, what really happened to flight MH370? To date, we simply don't know. Despite years of searching and countless theories, the mystery of Flight MH370 remains unsolved. The disappearance of the plane is a tragic reminder of how little we still know about the mysteries of the ocean and the skies. Despite the lack of answers, the families of the passengers and crew continue to search for closure. They have formed support groups and have pushed for more resources to be devoted to the search for the missing plane. As they continue to search for answers and closure, we can only hope that one day they will find them.